When did you start to notice that your mental health was deteriorating?
I didn't think I had a problem. I thought I could deal with anything because of what I'd done and been through, and I just couldn't understand it anymore. And I was put in a position where I was writing training programmes that we do for blokes before they operationally deploy, and I started fighting against it. And it was at that point I thought, hang on a minute, this isn't right. And I just lost it. Absolutely lost it. I got taken to the med centre and never were told to return to duty. I was 19 when I joined up. When I was 43. Do I miss it? I do. Oh, do I? Do you know, it's weird. You ask most veterans, would you go to Afghan? And well, fucking right, would. Makes sense. That's where it all made sense.
Sergeant Dave Hayden MC served with the RAF for 24 years, 17 of which were spent deployed on operational tours in kinetic war zones like Iraq and Afghanistan. In 2007 he was awarded the Military Cross for his bravery during the Battle of al-Waqi, and he also spent time with MERC crews, the airborne medical emergency response team sent to deal with battlefield casualties. His combat experiences began to take their toll on his mental health. After being medically discharged with PTSD, Dave's life spiralled out of control and he lost his family, found himself homeless and attempted to commit suicide. But now, thanks to the help of On Course Foundation, a charity that uses golf as rehabilitation for injured veterans, he has found new purpose and caddies at one of Scotland's most famous golf courses. This is his story. 24 years is a long time to be in for, Dave. You must have enjoyed your service.
There's points in my career where, oh God, if you could have it back as a heartbeat, you would. You cut me in half. And, you know, red, white and blue pulls out. So, you know, I was here for a purpose and that's what I thought, and that was serving in any which way I could. It's funny, somebody said to me the other day, when you were 23-year-old, did you do this? And I was like, well, no. Well, why not? I was at war. The way I feel about it is I feel lucky at the fact that I managed to serve in as many conflicts and do the things that I did, because when you join up, that's what you want to do. And I had that opportunity. But when it comes to the stuff that's added on and added on and added on, you know, you don't expect to be exposed to, you know, open wounds with bones hanging out and big bits of fat and, you know, trying to put a plasma bag into a bloke who's laying on the deck of a Chinook. Or I'm not a medic, you know, all I was force protection. But, you know, you end up getting in amongst it when you've got 6 or 7 casualties on the back because you've just had a massive tick down in Lash or wherever. I wasn't a medic, you know, but it never stopped me because it's, you know, you do anything you can, you know, everyone's got to come on, you can't leave him. And it was hard. I am getting better with it, and in time it will hopefully be a memory, a distant memory that I don't have to think about anymore, but it's that strong because it was my life. The military was my life.
On the evening of August the 7th, 2007, Dave, who was a corporal at the time, was part of No. 1 Squadron, RAF Regiment, that was sent to the village of al-Waqi, north of Basra Airport. The airport had been under rocket fire from Iraqi insurgents, and the squadron was tasked with what was known as a Hearts and Minds mission. A firefight broke out, and the squadron was ambushed by 40 to 50 insurgents, and with one of the men already injured, Dave was forced to take action when leading aircraftsman Martin Beard was also hit.
I remember getting across the road and doing a head check, and at which point I heard, Beardy's been hit, Dave. And I'm like, what do you mean he's been hit? Where is he? I remember it vividly. He was in a kneeling position with his LMG, and I swear to God he was alive. And in my head, and what I was seeing, he was alive, you know? Because you're now in this world of chaos, you know? There's rounds going down, there's blokes shouting left, right in Chelsea, the comms had gone down, we couldn't get any comms, we were in a black spot. And I just remember looking at Rob and I said, Rob, my golden hour. You know, this is where I need to get him away. You know, I wasn't interested in anything else but to get Beardy on that helicopter. I picked him up and I just fucking oiled him on my shoulders and I went. And I remember dropping him off and I turned around and none of the other lads had followed. And I just said, I'll get him. And again, I was off, you know, 200 metres. And we finally get back in, and I remember getting out the snatch with Rob because we were going to go and see Martin, because I didn't know whether he was or he wasn't, you know. And I got faced with Stu Belfer, Squadron Leader Belfer, And he said to me, "You can't go like that." I was, "What do you mean I can't go like this?" I was covered from head to toe in claret. I had it in my cubicles and everything. He'd come to me as a 19-year-old boy, you know. Did I fail him? No one's ever said, but it's that survivor's guilt in here, you know. And everybody says, "Oh, fucking dare." You know, I'm no hero, am I hell? I'm just someone who tried to do the best thing they could on that day.
For those people who haven't served, try and explain to me how strong the bond is between fellow soldiers and why losing one of your team is so damaging.
I mean, yeah, people personal to you, within your role, within your job, within your section, it is losing a member of your family. You might not have known them all your life, but what you have done is you've spent a year together in the shit, and then suddenly they're just ripped away in front of you, catastrophically. But how do you deal with that? You know, people will just say, "Oh, put it to bed." If only I could, and I wish I could.
Dave's heroics might have been in vain, but his courage was recognised when he was awarded the Military Cross for gallantry for what he did at Al-Waki. Not only was he the first RAF non-commissioned officer to be given that honour, it was the only Military Cross to be awarded to the RAF during the entire Iraq campaign. But the recognition came at a price.
I wish it had never happened. I wish I never got that medal. That medal ruined my life in so many ways. You're now on a pedestal and you're expected all the time to be that guy. That was just me. Don't get me wrong, I'm thankful because it keeps Martin's memory alive, you know, because whenever anybody talks about the Military Cross, it's mine. And that's how it should be. It's a reminder of Martin, nothing else. I remember the first time I ever sat down with a psychologist, and it wasn't even a psychologist, it was somebody who'd done a course. And I sat down and I remember the night before, I sat down and I wrote down everything that I needed to get across to this woman. It takes a lot to bare your soul to someone, and when that someone doesn't want to listen, or they're not interested, or they just wash their hands of you. Do you know, the more support I've got is peer support. It's not some fancy psychiatrist, because they ain't got a clue, they don't get it. Unless you've been in that situation yourself and seen and heard and smelled. I don't think people quite get what goes through veterans' heads when they've been subjected to 17 years of conflict. You know, World War, it was horrendous, it was terrible. So many people lost their lives, but it didn't last 17 years. And when you're in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, you know, constantly trying to explain to your family that it's my job, you know what I mean? You know, you left a war zone on a Friday, and on a Saturday you were in a living room with your wife and kids. Trying to make sense of it all.
After being medically discharged, Dave continued to struggle with his mental health as he wrestled with the memories of what he'd experienced in conflict. He was then faced with the prospect of adjusting to life outside the military. He admits the transition was extremely difficult.
A lot of us are kind of stuck in that no man's land between being a military man and being a civilian, because in the military it's black and white, and in civilian there's just too much ambiguity and it doesn't make sense. For me, it's all about yourself in Civvy Street, and that's it. And I'm not wired that way. When you're in that chaos and that conflict, everyone pulls together like a team, and that cannot be replicated in Civvy Street, because you build that rapport and that respect and that understanding and that belief in each other. I remember getting out on my first job. I lasted like 2 weeks because I just couldn't understand the mindset. There was no striving to reach excellence and try and be the best. And it's hard to accept, it really is. I don't want anything special, just people to accept that some of us aren't well, and there's a reason why we're not well. It's as if nobody cares for us, and that's what it feels like. So, when I came out of the military, I was basically, I'm archaic, and that was how it was put across to me, you know. I believe in process, I believe in discipline, I believe in cause and effect, because that's all that's ever been put into my head. And obviously, civvies aren't like that. When you come back out in that dynamic, you think you're hurting everyone. And I remember my oldest son, he was making it very difficult for me. And I didn't know how to react to it. I really didn't, because I knew if I reacted the way I'd react in the military, it wouldn't be good. And I just couldn't make sense of it all anymore. So yeah, I necked half a packet of Zopiclone, 24 tablets, yeah. I woke up in a fucking mental institute 2 days later. And I'd felt like I'd been stood on by an elephant because they had the panel on my chest.
Were you glad to be alive at that point?
No. Because I've got to face it all again. And it's my son's face. That's the last thing I saw when I turned around, when I rushed out the front door, and that was Logan looking through the blinds. I never want to see that again. I want to be stood next to him in the blinds. I can't have a minute.
After his suicide attempt, Dave was taken to the Personnel Recovery Centre in Catterick. As a capable golfer, he was referred to On Course Foundation, a moment, he insists, that was a huge turning point in his life. As well as enabling Dave to represent his country in the Simpson Cup, a golfing competition that pitches injured veterans from Great Britain against their American counterparts, On Course also helped him secure a place on the 2023 Caddy School for Soldiers programme. It allowed him to become a caddy, and he now has a paid role at Dumbarnie Links in Fife, one of the leading clubs in Scotland. Has golf given you that purpose that you'd lost?
Yeah, definitely, 100%, especially now I've been pushed down the caddy route. As you can see, I've probably perked up. I love being a caddy. When you're on the golf course, nothing else matters apart from that little white ball. It's weird. You're in your element. And since joining On Course Foundation, it's given me that hunger and that desire to be the best I can again. It's completely changed my outlook on life. I want to be here for as long as possible now. It's about achieving again in a role and a job like in the military. I've now got that mindset back. I want to be at the top. And it does give you that sense of belonging back. I've got such a network now of people who I can pick up the phone and I can cry to, I can shout at, I can joke with, because we get it, we all get it. It helps in more ways than you would ever believe.
Where do you think you'd be if you hadn't found the On Course?
I wouldn't be here now, without a shadow of a doubt. I don't even have to think about that. Past 2.5 years, I've lived in a homeless shelter in a city that I've never been in my life. I've lost my family. I've there's me and my brother, and that's it. But what the last 2.5 years taught me that I'm not ready to go yet. There's someone up there looking out for me, and I'm here for something. And maybe that's in the golf industry. I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Sometimes you think about it, and I wish it had come sooner, because then maybe I'd still have that whole family unit. And I hope at some point that people from the past can be in my life again in some aspect, because I'd really like that.
If you think back to where you were at your lowest point trying to commit suicide,
Yeah.
to where you are now, you must be incredibly proud of that journey, Dave.
It's funny you say that, because a lot of the time when we look at ourselves, we don't see that. Most mornings I wake up and I'm like, yeah, I've survived it again. This is a new chapter. I shall never forget about the old chapter, because the old chapter's there every night. As soon as them eyes shut, you think about all your pals and situations, and I'm getting there. I'm getting to the point where I don't need anyone's help anymore. But I'd never give up On Course.
The Veterans Foundation has given On Course £75,000 in grants since 2019, and it's been able to do that largely thanks to the players of the Veterans Lottery. What would your message be to those players, Dave?
I hope you win. But thank you. I wish there was a lot more like you, people that understand it and get it, that sacrifice to protect and serve. You know, that's the whole reason of an armed force, is to allow everybody to have that freedom of movement and that ability to live a life without conflict. Honestly, please do keep on helping, because what it achieves is colossal for me, as well as many hundreds and thousands of veterans that are not well.
Given everything that you've been through, would you do it all again?
Hell yeah, what a journey. But I'd change things along the way. If you want to help veterans like myself and charities like On Course Foundation, please play the Veterans Lottery. And that's a personal thank you from myself.
You don't like the word hero, Dave.
No.
But I would argue what you've done today in being so honest and open about your mental health struggles is as heroic as anything you've ever done in the military. So thank you so much.